Guest is a man who wears his Catholicism like a badge of honor, Mr. Bill O'Reilly. It is good to see you, Brother Bill.
Am I the better mind here? Because if so, we're going to get canceled.
Yes. No, you are the better mind. And on this topic of net effect, do you really believe President Trump could do anything to have Christians / the evangelical vote turn away from him and his movement?
Well, my mail says that there are many former Trump supporters angry at the president, and they don't like all this. So, sure. I don't know why President Trump, with all the things he's got to deal with, bothers with it. You may be right. He just has to be in the arena. He's got to be in the gladiatorial arena every night. But it didn't do the country any good, I don't think. This whole Christian battle. But I'm going to make a couple of points here.
Please.
You know, we live in a country, Cuomo, where it's you're bad, he's bad, no, he's good, you're bad. We always have to take sides. There's always got to be a hero and a villain. Okay? That was a Beach Boys song. Always. Both of these men are right. All right? The Pope is right that his pacifism, and that's what it is, all right, that's his philosophy, would lead to a much better world if embraced. Donald Trump is right by saying there is a danger to the world and that with America's power, he's compelled to confront the danger. Both men are right. So now we have their cross currents. So I'm trying back channels to get, I can mediate this, Cuomo. I could have both of them in the room, and by a half an hour, they'd be best pals. Because there isn't a situation where, no, this one is right and this one is wrong. It's not that. They are both have different jobs. They are doing their jobs, in my opinion, both of them. And so why are we fighting about this? Now, I don't believe that Pope Leo will ever see me, but that's the message I would carry to the Pope.
Well, if he won't see you, how can you be the guy to mediate it?
I'm trying. It's all you can do in life is try.
Oh,
because
all right.
I know I have the president's attention.
Well, that I know.
No,
the Pope is a little different.
I wish I could.
Look, here's the problem. The problem isn't that they're both right. The problem is that the president is speaking with disrespect about the Pope, and that they're making him a political figure. He's not a political figure. And that's what this is about. But, you know, this is about who he is as a person, not necessarily the policy. The outcome of what happens in Iran is very much in doubt. And it does seem like there's only one person who wants this to end, which is America. The regime is loving this bill. Israel is loving this.
Well, I know Israel is. I don't know if Iran is. They lost 4 or 5 members of their Politburo, whatever you want to call it, this week. I believe that the Hormuz situation is going to turn the tide in favor of America. All right, there were 9 vessels turned back without any violence, no boarding. And everybody's going, whoa, why didn't we do this in the first place? So I believe this is a very effective strategy. And that's why there'll probably be negotiations starting up again this weekend. But it's not a one-upsmanship for me. I mean, it's, look.
Go ahead. I was going to just ask you.
It's not a one-upsmanship.
Why is it, but why is it good now, and it was bad last week when it was closed the same way by the regime?
Well, I said it was good last week, so maybe that's the better mind thing. I thought from
you thought it was good that the regime shut down the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, that America got involved with the Strait of Hormuz. And I think that this is the way to strangle the mullahs and force them to the table.
But that's the part I don't understand. They had it closed last week, and it was seen as them flexing. Now it's closed, and it's going to drive them to the table? Why? What do they care if it's closed?
It was closed last week, but not under the supervision of the United States. So there were tankers getting through, particularly to China, and currency was flowing to Iran. Now, what does Iran have? It's not going to get any imports, and it's an import economy. So it's a slow strangulation. And the United States seems to have Hormuz under control. You know, there were all of these people who said, oh, no, Iran is powerful and they can stop it anytime they want. And that was all bull, because that's what people want to believe. I wanted to ask you a question. I know it's your show.
Well, I mean, the problem is that the drones, God forbid the drones, you know, they hit somebody. Now we got more people in the region. I mean, that's the concern. It's not that anyone would be foolish enough to believe that the Iranian regime can compete with the American military. That's not what it is. It's that these guys are a bunch of zealots who don't value death, and we don't want to see our people die. That's the point, I think. But what's your question,
No,
Bill?
but it's war. Okay. So
it is
Thomas Friedman is a columnist for the New York Times, and
I agree.
He apparently is an honest man. He comes out, he goes, I don't know who to root for," and I went, "What?" So he's actually considering it might be better for the world and the United States if the military, the U.S. military, loses the conflict. Now that is the ultimate hate Trump statement. And when you're at that level, you're not going to get any reportage that matters.
Right, I don't get what there's no question in that for me. But I don't understand. Why is Tom Friedman arguing that the U.S. military losing would be good?
Because he doesn't want to reward Trump or Netanyahu.
Wow. I mean, look, we both know Tom. He's a very, very smart guy. Look, I can't see how, unless you're playing a game with the definitions, why would anybody want the U.S. military to lose as an American when they're fighting a terrorist regime? I don't know. I mean, that is a very,
Friedman
very
actually
harsh
said it.
Commentary.
He said it. Don't lay harsh on me. He said it.
I know, but what I'm saying is, keep your eyes in your head. What I'm saying is,
journalism.
I know, but what I'm saying is, well, if it's not, that's not journalism. It's better off if America loses is an opinion piece that is driven by some kind of dark suggestion or some kind of satire, because they're fighting a terror regime.
Not satire.
Nobody wants the terror regime to win. You know, Tom Friedman can't want the Iranian regime to win. Come on. Who would want that?
And Friedman's
they're terrible people. You think that there are people in American positions of power. All right, I get that they hate Trump, whatever that means, you know, hate in politics. And I get that there's that kind of animus driven towards Bibi Netanyahu. No question. I'm not questioning that. And I believe people can be irrational about what is happening because of how strong their feelings are personally for these people, especially Trump. But no one wants the regime to win. Nobody. Nobody wants the regime to win. Not people who are holding power here in
Friedman
America.
Does.
That is,
Cuomo,
that's what I'm calling a harsh commentary.
You get Mr. Friedman.
Yeah, I will ask him. I'll ask him to come on right now.
Tomorrow. Right, because this is ridiculous. But it's symptomatic of how the American media is covering the story. Everything Trump does is bad. Everything he is.
Okay, there are
everything.
Two separate. Hold on. They're reading me Friedman's quote. I think you may be being unfair to him. Go ahead, read it to me. I find myself in a situation where I'm torn. I want Iran defeated militarily, but The problem is I don't want to see Bibi or Trump justify and celebrated for this war, or politically strengthened by this. Yeah, I mean that is at least rational. But it's at least rational. He's saying I want the regime to lose. Yeah, because he's not saying I want the U.S. military to lose. That's what you said, Bill.
Yes, he is.
That's what you said. No, he isn't. He said I don't want to see the Iran regime win.
Torn.
Right, because he doesn't want the regime to win.
I find myself
But he doesn't want to see Trump and Bibi win. It's different. I know, but not torn about whether the U.S. military should win.
You got to throw in with one or the other.
Why? What are we picking sides?
Well, then you're an agnostic, and we're back to the Pope. Okay,
I'm not.
You got to throw in with one or the other. You either want your country.
How can you call? Hold on, Bill. Do you realize what you just said? How can you call the Pope an agnostic? How can you call the Pope of the Catholic Church an agnostic? What are you talking about?
I'm saying the situation is agnostic because the Pope, he has not defined who he'd like to win this conflict.
Yes, he does. Nobody wants the Iranian Islamist regime to win. Nobody wants that. If those are the sides, I'm on the side of everybody else other than the Iranian regime. Nobody wants them to win. That's a piece of sophistry that manufactures division. Look, I'm not here to defend Tom Friedman. He can defend himself. But
good,
the idea
it's indefensible
that people
particularly
want America
when
to
you
lose.
have Americans.
Go ahead.
Particularly when you have Americans who could be killed. And then you're going, I don't really want to see the commander-in-chief, and there's a guy, Netanyahu, prospers, so I'm in the middle, and I'm weighing it back and forth. That's agnostic. He's not taking a side, all right? He's in the middle, and that's insane. But that is what the current flavor of American journalism is. You know what? He's not alone, Friedman. There are a lot of people.
Again, there are a lot of people who have a lot of lousy ideas, okay? And I don't think there's either side that has the market cornered when it comes to bad ideas. I don't know that you're being fair to Tom, but I do know. You can criticize what's happening in Iran, and you can criticize this president and not hate America.
Okay, but you want America to win because Iran is a terrorist state.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
That's not a hard one, Cuomo. That's an easy one.
No, I agree.
It's a terrorist state.
I agree.
But Tom has a little problem here. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're exaggerating it.
Yeah, of course you do, because you're sympathetic to him, but I'm not.
Yeah, because I want the regime to win. I'm torn, Bill. You know, I'm torn on it. These guys would chop my head off as soon as look at me. They would savage my daughter. You know, they would destroy everything I think is important to humanity. No, not if I were around. And that's the difference between the two of us. You'd be asking them, how did you feel when you killed Cuomo? I would put my life out there to make sure that someone else didn't. All right, I got to go. Bill O'Reilly, I appreciate you. We'll have a moral discussion again next week. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.